Hey folks, Ken here. Just giving you a quick update on how things are going. First of all, the UV, I'll go out to the pond in a few minutes, but it does seem to be doing its job. I was saying in the last video that it was, the water was very cloudy. And I'm really starting to put that down just to the, I just turn off the UV so I can open this up. Just down to the very significant amount of sunlight we've had over the last few weeks in Ireland anyway, and I'm sure the UK is the same. It's just 16 hours a day for nearly 2 weeks on the trot, which is fairly unprecedented, and I think that's what has the system really working overtime. I did give the drum a clean yesterday. Doesn't look it when I look in there, and I did clean around there. Sorry, this thing is doing what I wanted to do, and I'm using one hand. I did clean around there, but there's a fair bit. It just goes to show you that there is stuff gets through the drum. It's always been like that. I have the air off at the minute. I did give down here a clean, although again there's still a bit of debris there. You can see my drum has a tint of blue, and the rubber seals, basically because of the F&M treatment that I put in. I'll show you that in a second. And you can see the little probe for my temperature gauge is gone blue as well. I don't think they'll recover, not that it particularly matters. So it seems to be going well. I did just notice by being in the garden and in here, the drum is working very hard at the minute, and even the waste chute was quite dirty. And you can see down there as well, there is a bit of waste tends to come over the waste chute there, and someone pointed out, I can't remember exactly who, but they were saying, this is the clean side of the drum. Is it possible that the food problem I was having, finding food in the top of the pond and only feeding into the bottom part, so it meant that the food would have went through the skimmer, through the filter, through the drum, through the biochamber, and out and into the top part of the pond through this pump here. Now how it ended up in the top part of the pond intact, I don't know, but anyway it did. But it's very possible that with the drum going as it was going and food floating, that it maybe just got pushed over here. And as I say, you can see a bit of dirt there, it's been pushed, so it's very possible that maybe just got pushed over into here and sort of moved its way down. So a possible explanation. The UV I got off there, you can't see, but when I was cleaning the filter, there's definitely moisture inside the quartz that there shouldn't be. And there is a seal on it that I put silicone grease on that's rubber safe. Didn't really help it, and it's not an O-ring, it's a very specific sort of thick ring that goes over the quartz tube, and it's tapered up one down that fits into a taper in the housing. And I haven't seen them online that you can just buy them on their own and replace them, which is a nuisance. So it seems to be working, so I'll just leave well enough alone. Also into my bag of food, I had a 10k bag of food. I just split up between these containers. They're bigger pellets than I normally use. I didn't realise that, but they're fine. And I stopped feeding the wheat germ, so I'm feeding this full time now at the minute. And here's Tarzan with his toy that he's mangling. Other thing I did was just last week when I was having the problem, and I'll show you now, in the shower it's turned off at the minute because of the noise, is I put in a piece of filter floss, and you can see there it is pretty manky, not fully manky yet, but there's a lot of algae getting through there, and debris, again an indication that the system is working hard. I'll probably have to take that out at some stage and replace it. I had a big bag of it inside for fish tanks, and You know, I know a lot of people put them in their backy showers just to give that extra bit of water polishing, so it will help. So this is the treatment I used. It's the Kushuri formalin and macrolide premix. This is for the Costi I had, and it was grand. I bought another one. I was up in the Antrim coast there on Friday, took a day off, and we just went up and did the Joins Causeway and that, and there is a koi place, Causeway Koi, quite close by, so I dropped in there. This is the guy I nailed it from, so Wesley, so I picked up a second one when I was in there just to have it, and there's a good date for it of best before January 27. So I just did 2 treatments. It says a maximum of 3 treatments, and do them 7 days apart. Now the advice I was getting from experienced keepers was do 1 treatment, and then 4 days later do a water change, 20% water change, and do a second treatment just to catch the Costi in its cycle. So that's what I did with the UV off. Now again, having the UV off during the treatment obviously didn't help my water quality either, so I had to take that into account. So it worked very well. Yeah, I did notice there, I think Thursday, there was still a couple of fish flashing, and I took them out and stressed myself out and stressed them out and scraped them and checked, and just got a friend of mine who's more experienced to look at the videos of the scrapes. I have an Apex practitioner microscope, but I have the little video eyepiece for it that I can look at it on my screen and take a video of it, which is great because I can post it somewhere or pass it on to someone else more experienced than me. But anyway, his experience though, he said there was nothing there. And I was talking to Wesley when I was up in Causeway Koi, and he said he notices that as well, and it's probably just they're still a bit irritated after the treatment and after the Costi infection. But he said, you know, Costi is easy enough to treat, and he'd be surprised if 2 treatments of F&M didn't solve it. So it does appear to, and I haven't noticed them scraping since. So let me just turn on the noise here and move outside and have a look. Leave that to do its thing. And fishies are doing grand. There was 2 new additions from Causeway Koi. These 2 little boys there. My son picked them out, likes them. Named them Samson and Goliath after the Harland and Wolf cranes in Belfast. So we see we 23 koi in there, which I'm telling my wife, who likes when she visits places to buy koi, even though she says she's not going to, she's worse than me. We are going to have to, as they grow, the system isn't under stress at the minute because they're small, but we are going to have to move. You know, if you want to keep buying fish, you're going to have to, you know, move ones on that maybe aren't developing a bit like my. I think I've pointed out that Akumatsuba wouldn't be a great specimen now, and he's a lot of carp pox. And also there's another one, there's a Goshiki that I got last season that so far is not doing anything. I can't see him there at the minute, but they'd be 2. What I do is, if somebody's starting up a pond and they're looking for a few fish, I'll pass them on free of charge the same way. You know, I was delighted when I started my pond up, there was a few people I know donated fish to me, which is, you know, gets the system up and running and gets people going. So fishes are all fine. You can see the water clarity is a lot better. It's not great, I need to clean the window, but you can see up on top, huge improvement. So I'm happy with that, and I leave the UV as is as long as it starts working. I have the umbrella thing up here just to give them a bit of shade. I've been wondering, I've just been looking at my this little Goshiki sort of tancho, and my tancho, they've little white marks on their heads, and I'm wondering if it's sunburn given the weather we've had over the last few weeks. Anyway, another thing I did was I got more soil when I was up on Causeway Koi for the lilies because there wasn't enough soil in there. When I put it in, the soil just floated. This is a bit of a schoolboy error. I didn't have the problem when I did it initially a few weeks ago and replanted them. And the soil just floated. Now, not all of it, but a good bit of it. And this was like a swamp yesterday. So I ended up having to fish the 4 fish that were in here out, completely drain it and vac it and clean it. And then what I did was a typical bloke thing. I read the instructions on the aquatic soil that I got, and they said that when you put the soil in, to cover it with stones to stop it doing exactly what it did on me. So I got a bit of gravel I had, washed it out and put it in, and as you can see, the water's crystal clear. The lilies are, I don't know if they're down there, you can see, are they buds, are they new leaves? They're probably just leaves coming up. This one here, they're odd shaped leaves. I've often wondered about that one. They're crinkly. Whether it's just the type of lily it is, that's the second part of it. That one was split in two, or there's something wrong with it, I don't know. But anyway, there was a load of leaves. I pruned them down again with the hope that they'll come back. There is fertilizer in the soil as well, little tablets. But it was a pain in the arse yesterday having to strip that down and do it and back it. But I knew if I refilled it up and then turned it on, I'd have the problem in the whole pond, which wouldn't be great. You can see the water quality there, you can see the spin drifter down there. To be honest with you, I've gone off the spin drifter a bit. I don't turn it on much. The only time I turn it on is when I'm doing a water change, and when I was doing the medication. I find with it, you know, some people like the effect. I get a problem with debris. It tends to push the debris to this corner, and it doesn't go into the skimmer. And I find when I turn it off, you see, I just noticed my big Jin Matsuba flashing there, which I haven't seen in a while. But anyway, I'll keep an eye on them. Other thing I want to do is a pergola. I've been talking about this, and my wife said to me, well listen, we're probably not going to do the Rolls Royce job we planned. Why don't you, and I know a couple of guys have done this, is build one myself, just make it relatively simple. Now I may not do it this season, but just thinking, and one of the simplest ways to do it seems to be to mount the poles here. Now that has two problems for me. First of all, I've got my copings in place, but I don't think there's either lift there, so I think if I have to take the copings off in places, it won't be that big a job. And mount it there, and then cut the copings, you know, drill in those post mounts and mount them up. I would need 6 posts, I think, because it's quite a long span. It's about 5.5 meters. Again, they're all loose anyway, so to be honest with you, I think the other problem I'd have though is that my covers come right out to here, as most of you will see, and so I was saying to my wife, oh, maybe we'll just put it in the ground, you know, and save me modifying the covers. But looking at putting it into the ground and digging up and concreting down posts just doesn't really appeal to me, to be honest. And I'd say getting them at the right level, at the right height, and not leaning one way or the other is probably a dark art, especially with 6 of them and they need to run it. So anyway, I'm thinking of maybe just taking these up, and probably it'll be easier to mount it up here and keep it neat, and then just modify I mean, you know, I built the covers myself, so if I had to, I think the one at the back would have to be modified, the very back that I have on the top ponds. The one that slots in under the waterfall will probably be okay, because I think the second post will go here. So there'll probably be just 3 of them out of the 4 that I'd have to modify. So, I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I'll have a think about that, but as I said, probably, I don't know, I'm not going to do it this year. My wife was saying, well, maybe even if you got the posts up and you could mount a sail on it for the moment, and then maybe build a pergola next year. I might think about that. Look into it a bit more if you have any tips on building pergolas on ponds. You know, I was thinking before as well that it might, because we're quite exposed here, and I think any pergola would get a fair battering from the wind, and it would put stress on the walls. But really, you know, the walls are very, very strong, and I don't think that would be an issue, and lots of people do it, and that's how they mount them. So that's probably what I'll do. But I think to sort of get these off and put the posts here, and then you know, cut the copings around them. Even if I had to get somebody in to cut the copings for me and relay them, wouldn't be the end of the world. It's probably easier than trying to put them into the ground. And then if I put it here, I'm blocking that walkway. When I was doing the Rolls Royce version and planning it, we were going to pin it into the wall here. Now I suppose I could still potentially do that, but I wasn't planning on coming out that wide. But anyway, ideas. Another thing I wanted to mention was as well, if you look at my wall here, you'll see there's spots, and what that is, as far as I can work out, the water is fairly hard here, and that is a coating. You can even see it a bit up here of just calcium, and it seems to be coming away. Now I don't think it's the flow coat. In fact, I'm fairly sure it's not. Although this side of it was repainted, it was pared back and reflow coated because the sun had damaged it when it was fiberglassed originally, and the guy had to come back and redo it. It's not happening anywhere else, and I'm just, is that flow coat or is it just the calcium? That maybe if I got a bit of it out, I might be able to see. But it's only happening on one side and in places, and as you can see, when it comes away, it's black initially and then it goes green again. Now whether it's the top coat of flow coat coming away, I don't know. It's hard to tell, and it's white there when you look at it. It's not black, just on the edge. And as I say, there definitely is a fair coating of and you can see even in those scrapes that are there from me vacuuming yesterday, and they're basically just scrapes of the algae and the it's a rubber, you know, it's a Pond Vac 4 Oasis, so there's no metal or anything hard on it, so it's just scraping into the calcium, and you can see it's white there, but there's a lot of algae there, more so than usual. Just goes to show you guys, if you're sweating over what colour will I get my pond flow coated, will it get black or green? It's going to go green anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I had a few marks on the original flow coat I was a bit annoyed about, but after a couple of months of a pond operating, you don't see them. You just get this green. I must maybe try and get the hand in there and get a little bit of that out and try and figure out, is it flow coat or is it just that calcium? But if it is the calcium, why is it not happening? Now, the other reason is that gets a lot more sun on that side. Anyway, if anyone's seen that before, give me a comment. But I wouldn't say it's compromising the water tightness of the pond, but if it's starting to go there, it may mean a whole lot of it goes eventually. I don't know, another one. Anyway, that's the update. I'll leave it at that. Any comments on pergolas and how to mount them and various other things, just let me know. As I say, water clarity is not gin clear, but it's several 100% better than it was in the video last week. Fishies are all healthy, little bit of flashing every now and then, but the other thing I noticed as well is with the F&M, it does kick the filter a bit, so the nitrite went up to 0.25, which probably isn't helping either, could be annoying them a little bit, along with everything else, but it is starting to go back down again, which is great. Alright, I'll leave it at that. Thanks, talk to you again, cheers.